Thank you so much. And
No
how are
problem.
you? I mean, I know you're dealing with a lot emotionally right now.
Yeah, I'm fine. Like it's funny because I have obviously I'm born in England. I was brought up in England, and a lot of my close family now live in England anyway, or outside of Iran. Like most of my family are either in Canada, UK, or America, LA,
Okay.
I think. But I've still got cousins and like other people there, and I watch the news and I think, oh, like obviously like I can see what's going on, or I'll go on Twitter, I can see what's going on. I have not had any contact really with anyone in Iran that's my family because they shut the internet off. Um, so my dad tried ringing his brother, can't get through to him. Like the internet goes off. Like there's basically like 3 hour gaps where like twice in a day that people can use the internet. And then
Okay.
obviously also on top of that, it's like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are all banned. You can't access them. So it's
Really?
like, yeah. So
I
it's
didn't
really
realize
hard.
that. Wow.
Yeah, it's it's a bit crazy.
So I mean, I imagine you're worried then since you haven't even been able to contact.
Yeah, like I've spoken to my cousin, she lives in Paris, and I've messaged her. I've spoken to her. She said she can't she can't get hold of her own brother who's in Iran, and it is worrying. And I know that my family personally, I can only speak from like myself, but my family are very pro like the protesters and support them and stuff.
Mhm.
So that does worry me
Yeah.
in the sense of like I don't know which one of my family like could be or could not be like involved in anything and stuff like that. So yeah, it is worrying.
You feel like it's being portrayed in the West versus what's really going on, even though you don't actually have like on the ground knowledge. Like I'm sure that you have an opinion about
Yeah, no, I
how.
well yeah, okay. So like I'll answer this like without giving what my work is away, if that makes sense. So my job, I'll just say, is that I speak every day like with many different types of people from across the world. And one of them happens to be an Iranian man who I now like I speak to him like every week. And he lives in London, and he left Iran 2 months, 3 months ago. So he actually tells me like inside info from he's an ex-business owner who fled basically a few months ago, and he told me that every like what he's seen in the West, which is my suspicion as well, and he confirmed it, is that they're not reporting on how vast the protests are, like how much of the country. He's like, is every single major city, town, like or big town in the area has had some protest, like to a degree, from like a few people protesting at the start. And now it's just like ongoing. Every single province, every single like a city and town has had some sort of rebellion, protest, whatever. And Iran is quite secretive about how and why someone has died, especially like when they're protesting. We're just not getting the reports.
Or even
Like,
moving their bodies.
yeah,
I mean, my God.
exactly, yeah.
My last episode, I spoke with a woman and she said she's very frustrated because it's like they're acting like it like New York Times wrote an article that it was um economic hardship that was causing the protest. And it's like, no, it's
What?
about women's rights. You know?
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't see that. I have not heard that.
yes. Yeah, that
Oh,
was one of the articles that it was about economical hardship.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna message you when we were talking on Twitter, but I forgot to say that my like the problem with asking me about the reporting in the West is that I think British news has been reporting on it a lot better, and
Yeah.
I follow British news, so like
Yeah.
American, I have not seen one
Well,
report from America.
our media is extremely left bias.
Mm,
RMSM is like, I mean, and essentially, I mean, a main reason I'm starting this channel and a main reason I've kind of taken the path I have in terms of taking a hard pivot in my life is because I'm frustrated with it. I feel like an incredible amount of censorship, and the Iranian regime is one of the top donators of or contributors to democratic campaigns.
I
And
didn't
so
know
it's
that.
not surprising to me that it's been,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. Um,
I had no clue about that.
yeah, it's been
I
really
didn't
interesting
realize.
because I also, I'm sort of, I disdain both parties, and I was not in the least a Trump voter. I didn't support Trump, didn't like Trump, didn't vote for Trump. But another woman I'm going to be having an episode with after this, later on in a week or two, she told me that Iranian people were upset when Trump lost because international relations wise, Trump was better for the Iranian people than Obama
Yeah.
or Biden have been.
Yeah. That's something that's quite
They don't
it's
want the
quite
nuclear deal to go through.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think people are shocked like
Yeah, it shocked me. I mean, I would never have
yeah,
thought.
I think what it is as well is that people like in the West, I'm guilty of this as well, but people in the West forget that like say under Obama, I know this is used quite a lot, but under Obama, more bombs were dropped in Syria and stuff like than any
Oh
other
yeah.
time.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
dropping
drones,
those
whatever.
drones.
So yeah, when Trump won, my dad said to me, he was like, I was like, who would you vote for? Because there was a lot of debate, and obviously, like everyone was like, oh, like Hillary Clinton's also like evil, and like she's got a track record. I think,
She's
yeah,
definitely a
but
hawk. She's without a doubt a hawk.
she, she's just, but like, I just don't really. It's gotten to the point now, like with me anyway, with American stuff, is that Raisi and like Khomeini and stuff, like they've said, I think it's Raisi, but one of them said, like this is somehow like what's going on in Iran right now is somehow America's fault because the Western standards of like what people want in from their government is because of like Iran's like influence on America. No, Iran's getting influenced by America. And like this is something I really want to bring up because like people I think people look at the Middle East as like a monolith, like any like Middle Eastern country in that area of the world as a monolith. And Iran, like in Iran, like there is not that many practicing Muslims, like compared to what like the statistics show from a Muslim
Right.
country, like people are not as at all as religious. Like there are obviously like Muslims, strict Muslims, whatever, but like there are like I was actually reading a report in which was from an Iranian media source that said only about 37% of Iranians report to be practicing like Muslims. And I thought that was quite interesting. And that was
It
from
is.
2020. Yeah, this is from 2020. So I thought that was quite interesting. But I would say it's like 50-50 or something. Sounds about right. So like when people say, I've seen people on Twitter saying this as well, like white people from the West, but like it is the Western influence, like they like it's our what do they call it? Like colonize the mentality of like other countries want to like adopt
But
American or
Iran
Western,
was
but
very Western. I mean, Western
yeah,
before the revolution. Like, I
it
mean,
was,
look at
it was,
photographs. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly that. And like most people, regardless, like in Iran, believe in choice, whether they're a Muslim or not. Like they believe that like you should have the right as a woman to choose whether you wear a hijab. And
what is your personal feeling about the hijab? Because it's interesting with Western feminism or liberal feminism. There's a lot of like uh, support for the hijab, I guess, or like in a way, and where if you criticize the hijab, you're considered Islamophobic. But then I've been seeing some Iranian women say the opposite. So I'm just very curious what your take on the hijab is personally.
So my sort of understanding from Iranian women's point of view who've grown up in Iran and stuff is that I would totally understand, and my family, my female family members in Iran would agree with the Western sort of take, like the Western liberal feminist take on the hijab. So I think that there's when it's enforced by like whether it's by the law or by like a male family members, whatever, and it's seen as like absolutely simple not to wear it and they're pressured, that's a problem. And I feel like it's just as bad to shame someone into wearing the hijab than it is as it is to shame someone out of wearing the hijab, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that like there's reasons why women that I know who are Muslim but not strict Muslim. I have lots of Muslim friends where I live, like I won't say where, but they wear hijab, and Muslim male friends who drink alcohol. It's very like like varied depending on what region of the world you're from. So it just depends really on the situation. I think the burqa and niqab are like a different story. I think when you're covering like your face from like here, like, or like having a veil completely, I just think that like whether it's forced on you or not is not a good way to exercise
Yeah.
yourself in society, you know. But hijab is different in my opinion. Like I'll probably get hate for that from like both sides,
I
but
mean, it
yeah.
makes sense because you're much, yeah, like, I mean, the hijab is different. It's a headscarf versus like an entire, like, you just, yeah.
Mm, yeah. And like, yeah, I just think that like when you look in countries, I think it's Switzerland and like France. I'm not sure if it's passed in France, but they want to ban the burqa, ban the hijab in classrooms, and all of these sort of things. And like there, I think it's Switzerland or somewhere in Europe that's banned like the hijab basically. And I think if you look at places like that, it's just as bad as forcing it, like in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
And like that's just what it comes down to for me. Like same with the gender stuff. Like it's like I think that like you're right. Your rights as a person to like express yourself how you want is really important, but not to feel forced and compelled to do something by the state, society, whatever.
I discovered you because of your Twitter thread, or it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a thread, but well, you came out and were like, stop, coming after, or TRA stop saying this about Iran, like I'm gender critical.
Hmm.
And I was fascinated by that. So then I read a little bit more and I discovered a kind of a back and forth you had with someone about the position of lesbian, gays, and bisexuals in Iran versus the position of trans people in Iran. And I think that both gender critical people and I guess lib femmes or whatever, or the non-gender critical people, I think
Mm.
we both have it wrong. So I kind of want to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I think I remember like I've been having loads of these like discussions with people
Yeah.
from both sides, yeah. When we in the West use Iran, which I've seen the trans TRA side use Iran as a way to say, look, even other countries that are like still like I don't know, third world, second world, whatever you want to call it, countries, and they're still more progressive about trans issues than what the like we are in the US. And like look how like the government, like because they fund, like Iran's government will fund trans surgery or whatever, look how progressive they are. And it started to infuriate me. Like I started to get
Yeah.
so angry reading that, because like there's a great like listeners, whoever, there's a documentary and it's from 2008 and it's called Be Like Others. And it follows the story of like some gay homosexual people. I think it's two men and one woman, I think. And they are all basically saying that if they weren't in Iran, they would not want to be going through this, transitioning to being a woman, because they're same-sex attracted, they feel like they have to. And it's really sad. But because I've always been really supportive of like homosexual Iranians like living in Iran especially, or like just like not just Iran but in the Muslim world, and like how homosexuality and homosexuals are treated, kind of was the stem, or they planted the seed of me becoming gender critical. Because when I realized, when I watched Be Like Others, stuff like that, I was like, oh my God, like it's horrific to think that your two options in life are to be executed, which Iran executes the most same-sex attracted people out of any country.
Out of
It's
any country?
yeah,
Oh my
out of
God.
any country. And Iran in general executes the most people every year, just after China. It's the second highest amount of people. It's weird, like it doesn't reflect like the executions of gay people. Like there's videos of gay men in Iran being thrown off buildings, and like people see this and like hung in like the public square, things like this. And like it's not actually representative of the general like consensus. Like I don't think there's many Iranian people. I've never met an Iranian person that agrees with it. So when your two options in life are have like surgery that I don't know, like to me it just is, I can't even imagine. Like if like it's one thing to like really want surgery and like I don't know, your healthcare in America will pay for it or the NHS will pay for it or whatever. But it's another thing to be forced because of your sexuality into feeling like to do something to your body that is you can't go back on. And when you know you don't want to do it, it's just like torture really to me. Like I just think it's torture. But just
Yeah. How long have they been doing this? The
what the transition trans stuff.
yeah.
I think the fact are so there's an Iranian trans-identified male, and his first name is Mariam, but I'm not sure about second name. I can't remember. Convinced in like the early to mid 80s to put like ask the Ayatollah to put a fatwa on trans people who wanted to transition. So it sort of started, and he agreed. So it sort of started from there. So it became okay to be transsexual or go through transition, but you have to like go and like have a diagnosis as being like gay basically, or like so, like go through probably more steps still somehow than what they do in America nowadays, but like you have to go to like a healthcare like person like who says like yes this person's gay, like, and they have a reason to transition, and then basically after that like it's like a process that the government will pay for, like
I thought
in order to like,
half of it, right? They don't pay for the whole thing, right? Or is it the whole thing?
so, and yeah, so I've been reading into this to try and work out if it is the whole thing or not, because when you watch interviews with like people who are from Iran who have left Iran and they're talking about their experiences like gay people, they say a lot of it's in Farsi as well, so like this won't get out to the West as much, but like they say things like they were offered to be like have pretty much all of it paid for except from like the like changing of not records, you know what I mean, like ID and stuff like that. But yeah, like I think the like law says that they'll pay for half of it if necessary, or
often they'll pay for more. Okay. Oh, this is so fascinating. But you still said that they still live a relatively oppressed existence, even though they're not,
yeah,
they don't risk execution, which I think is what the gender critical women get wrong. Because we know, or not women, I get people, but because we know that if you're lesbian or gay, you face execution, but if you're trans, you don't. But then you said they still experience a lot of oppression and they're not like necessarily accepted into society.
Yeah, of course. Like people, this is kind of what's been my problem a bit at the moment with gender criticals. The conversations that are being had is that it's very nuanced and there's a lot more to it, especially when we're talking about Iran and like trans people in Iran. You're not like born a man who's gay in Iran and then transition, and then after you transition everyone just thinks you're a woman. Like if we don't think that, like a lot of society in the West doesn't think that you can become a woman, then why do they think that in Iran people would believe that? So yeah, like, and like before, like most people like I saw an interesting comment actually from I think it was a Turkish woman, and she lives just on the border for like, so Turkey-Iran border, she's from that area, and she said a lot of people who have gone through transition who are Iranian come over to where she's from, and they're sex workers and stuff like that, and they still leave Iran in the end. So yeah, like they say, unless someone is a very lucky person who passes really well, if say male to female, right? If they pass really well and then they also move out of the place that they're from to where some people don't know them, and they're very like slight and they pass naturally quite well.
Are they forced to do a job? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I think for them as well, like if you think about it, like even though like I think the situation with transgender stuff in general in Iran is very different, I do think that it's the same when it comes to the hijab for some of them, at least for the males to females, is that it's a sign that they're a woman if they're wearing a hijab in society, like that enforces it. So like, why would they want to not wear it? Like I've seen a really weird person who's trans in Iran who is like posting like pictures of him in his hijab, and he's like, I can't believe these protesters are opposed to something that's so like something like so naturally like good for women or something.
So, but are they forced officially? Like because they're living
I think I don't see this is this is something I've been really looking into, and I'm not sure if it's actually in the law that they have to, but I think I would expect them to be forced to wear it.
Yeah.
If they're recognized under law as a woman, which is what they would be, I expect that. Yeah.
You know what's funny is that this like reminds me of, you know, them wanting to wear the hijab. It reminds me of reading on Twitter some TRAs or trans people saying that they wish they could have an abortion or that like whatever. Like, and it's like, it's disgusting to me. It's fucking disgusting. Like,
yeah. I
like,
saw a screenshot of that.
I've seen it a lot. Like it's like they want to get pregnant just so they can have an abortion, or like, or saying or commenting like basically centering themselves on the repeal of Roe. It's like it just reminded me of like this like centering or kind of fetishizing female oppression. It's like fuck off.
It's a fetish. I think the abortion thing is a fetish. Like personally, like I just like you either have to be so mentally ill and self-obsessed to think like that, or you have to have a fetish. Like I'm sorry, but I just cannot believe you. And to publicly say, I was shocked reading the abortion. Like I don't know, like it just turned my stomach so unaware. And this is why I had to make that tweet that like you saw originally, the like TRA stop using like the like I don't even know where that came from, but I saw like 4 people in the same day like retweeting and quote tweeting.
Well, to me, I just don't know why they would like if I was a TRA, I would try not to talk about Iran because it's like it's what's going if you leave the West to look at any other like any country that is oppressive to women, it's sex based. It's always sex based. Yeah. Our oppression is always going to be rooted in our sex, always.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why there's no separating woman from her body.
Why would TRAs bring up Iran? Why would they bring up? There's countries that they bring it up, but especially Iran, like especially Iran. Oh, it's so infuriating. The way that they talk about Iran is so progressive, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, do you not, like, they just don't research things. They just don't know. Like, they literally just don't know. I've watched more, like, transgender, like, documentaries and content than they've probably watched ever about their own people, trans people in other countries.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that, like, I've watched so many. And that's, like, I've come to, like, what I feel is an informed position on it. Because I've tried to, like, get it into my head, like, how things are across the world. Them using Iran as like a pinnacle of trans healthcare, it just goes to show. And like just talking about GC women don't care about Iranian women because they would be doing more to like they'll be talking about the protests in Iran. It's like I just don't even know what they're talking about when they say that, because I've seen so much so much like coverage of like tweeting about it from these GCs.
We're also apparently all far right when we're all on the left.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like, so there's the smears for TERFs and gender critical and rad fems is I mean it's designed and it's intentional, like just like the forced teaming and the whitewashing of like forcing, you know, any rad fem in the US has to go on Fox News because no one else will interview them. It's a design to instill fear in anyone from becoming
yeah, no,
I didn't want to be gender critical. I didn't want to be a TERF. I spent 7 years trying not to be a fucking TERF. But it's like I read and I was just like, and I had one friend I had since I was 3 years old who now blocked me just for posting Leah Thomas, which to me should be the easiest thing.
Oh my God.
Like Leah Thomas literally and I know she was 3 years old, and I had spent about 5 years reading articles she would send me, and I just like the TERFs won me over because the argument is more sound, and when I get interested in something, I just don't stop reading.
The thing that gets to me is that like on that tweet that I put like about the one that you saw, and I was like, TRA stop, I can't remember exactly the words, but TRA stop saying that like gender critical people don't like support Iranian women and stuff. I had this comment, like these comments, like about 10 of them from this like TRA, like just going on and on, like obviously like maximum capacity, like each time with like how many characters, like you're an and to summarize, you're like, no matter like what your ethnicity or like what race you are, you're like, you are clearly a bad person. And I was like, like I was like, jokes on you, because I'm not gonna read all of that. Like, if like the last sentence I see says that I'm an evil bad person, like, but like this, have you noticed that? Like with like,
yeah, I'm insane. I'm a Nazi. Like,
yeah,
and honestly, it's made me just have no, like, I don't care anymore. Like,
yeah, no, yeah,
your words mean nothing. And like, you calling me transphobe, you might as well just call me a cat. It means the same thing. I know I'm
yeah,
not, but it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, like yeah, no, exactly, like that's
although I'd like if you
that.
called me a cat, but you know.
Yeah, no, I was just about to say if they called me a cat.
I don't know. Like, you might as well just say I'm a tube of chapstick. It means nothing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
nothing. It's nonsense.
It is, and I think that they've shot themselves in the foot, haven't they, with that? Because
Yeah.
that because now everything's transphobic, and like I do, like this is something actually really want to say this. I really don't hate trans people, like I really don't. Like and like I think that they hate the gender critical turfs, whatever, so much that they can't actually comprehend that a lot of us, like I'd say like most of us, do not hate trans people, like you know, and like from their side, because they've obviously got these like very like blinkers on, they believe that it must be a mirror, you know what I mean? If they hate us, then we must hate them so much too, because they hate us. And
All
it's just
I
not
care
like that.
about is that women aren't locked up with rapists. That
Oh
Title
God.
IX, that Title
Yeah.
IX is not recodified, and that kids are safeguarded. Like, if those
Hmm.
things happened, I give fuck all what you do with your life.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so much right now, but I feel like I'm like hanging out with a friend and drinking wine.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, I think that most TERFs, radfems, gender criticals, all we care about is the safeguarding of children and women. If those things are dealt with, like, live however you want.
Yeah.
I don't
A
mind.
hundred million
But
percent.
also, and don't make me, have to believe something. Like,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
totally support third spaces.
Yeah, of
Like,
course. Like,
to safeguard, like, especially in prisons. Like, I'm not, it's not lost on me that trans identified men are more
mhm.
vulnerable in prison. So third
Yeah.
spaces, but women aren't human shields for male violence, and we're not
Mhm.
here to couch male
Yeah.
violence. Like, it's insane to me that this man is vulnerable in this space, so go be with the women. And then we look at what's
Yeah.
happening, like a freaking
Yeah.
serial killer of women in New York, literally, like, and
Is
how
this the one that drank
he got
people's
released
blood?
twice.
Mm.
He
Mm.
murdered his girlfriend, was sent to prison, got released, murdered another girlfriend, went to prison, was released recently, like, and in his 80s transitioned. 80s, an octogenarian, and then transitioned in his 80s. It is funny, but it's also horrifying,
That's
because then he gained
crazy.
access to a woman's refuge and murdered another woman.
What? I have
Was
not, you
caught,
know what, right? I
yeah,
haven't even
was
heard
caught
about that.
wheeling around her dismembered leg,
Oh God,
and
don't.
they're
That's,
housing him with women in
oh
Rikers.
God.
I don't think people know what AGP is enough.
No, that's literally the.
They associate trans identified men with
Mhm.
same sex attracted men that were dysphoric at a
Yes.
very young age, and so there's a lot of sympathy there, and I get that.
Yes.
And then they don't think, well, obviously, if
100%.
they're same sex attractive and they've been dysphoric since young age, they're not going to rape women. But
Yeah.
they don't realize that the majority are AGP that,
Yes.
like, identify. It's like making a trans umbrella was the worst thing for actually
Yeah.
true dysphoric people
Yeah.
who had
Yeah.
dysphoria from a young age, who chose to medically transition in adulthood because their dysphoria didn't go away. It is
Hmm.
the worst thing for them to create a
Hmm.
trans umbrella where
Yes.
transvestites or AGP men
Hmm.
who want to
Yeah.
have sex with women, who
Yeah.
are aroused by the idea of themselves being women, who have created an
Yeah.
entire porn category of
Oh,
masturbating in bathrooms,
yeah.
that they are now
Oh,
in
it's
the
foul.
trans umbrella with them, because that is the danger of women in prison,
Yeah.
and the people and the men who just use
Yeah.
it as a loophole. Like, the
Yeah.
transgender, the rate of transition is higher in prison. The rate of sexual offenders that are trans is higher in
Hmm.
prison. And, like, I don't read that as trans identified men are somehow more likely to be predators. I read that as someone using a loophole that
A big
forced.
loophole.
They
Of
gain
course,
access
and
to
of
victims.
course you would. Like, are you crazy? You go in for raping a woman, and then you can just identify as a woman again and go into a woman's
Yeah, it's
prison,
like,
which is less
why
harsh
wouldn't you?
and yeah, why wouldn't you? Like, if you're in the mindset of that person, like if you're raping people, you're a bad person anyway. Why are you going to be like, nah, I'll just lay, I won't identify into an easier life in prison.
Like a man that that created porn raping his 7-year-old daughter in Jersey,
Oh,
and he's in a woman's prison, and his
so
accomplice,
it makes
both
me
of them
want to
were
cry.
transferred to a women's prison. It makes me that
It's heartbreaking, man. Like, sorry, like it just that just
83%
like
of
hearing
women
that, it's
in
just
prison
heartbreaking.
are survivors of sexual abuse, and now they have to be housed with these monsters.
It like breaks my heart. Like, sorry,
Yeah,
like hearing
it's
that other
so
story
upsetting.
about that man who raped his child, you just think, God, like it just does break your heart. Like, and this is really why I just didn't even hear about that first story, like that you said about the guy getting released twice. Like, it's just insane. But like, yeah, it does. It breaks your heart, and you just think, like, God, like, do these women not like
Did
it's
not
just
matter.
changing cruel and unusual punishment, isn't it? Like
It
they're
is.
in for
It is.
like
It's
like
unconstitutional, and it's a violation of It's a violation of
yeah.
international law, and it's unconstitutional because in our constitution it says you cannot be submitted to cruel and unusual punishment. And there's
Mm,
nothing like that. That is cruel and unusual. And I'm a childhood sexual abuse survivor,
mm,
so
mm,
and re-victimized in adulthood, and
mm.
I would lose my mind. I
Yeah.
know I would lose my mind. I wouldn't be able to breathe. I wouldn't be able to shower.
Mm,
Like these women
yeah.
are they're being tormented. So yeah, I want to quickly ask you about lesbian lesbian situation in Iran, because we've talked about, gay men, and I thought it was counterintuitive that lesbians would be able to transition into living a male life.
Hmm.
And I just kind of want to hear your 2 cents about that.
But basically, in more recent years, the population of women who are like actually lesbians and openly lesbians or whatever, and want to transition, I think has gone up by what statistics I was reading said it's doubled like in like the last 5 years. So, and now it's like maybe outpacing male to female transitioners in Iran. And what was the other thing you asked me about? I can't remember what you. Oh,
I know 2 lesbians are sentenced to death for
yeah,
protesting, and I mean, I understand. It makes entirely sense. I mean, in the West, it's happening too, where girls are more likely to transition now,
yeah,
teenage girls specifically with mental health issues,
yeah,
the most with a host of comorbidities. And
yeah.
it makes sense. I didn't like being a girl either when I was a kid, because I could
Hmm.
tell, I was a loud, outspoken, opinionated person, and I could tell it wasn't
Hmm.
an attribute. It was an impediment to me. It wasn't something
Yeah,
that girls were supposed to be. And
yeah,
being a girl sucks in a lot of ways.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's in the West, where we have, I mean, we're losing a lot of our rights, but we have more. And I mean, in Iran, if you could escape being a woman, duh. So it makes
Yeah,
sense
why
that
wouldn't
they would
you?
want to. But I
Yeah.
can't imagine that they'd have the same kind of acceptance in a male as being men.
Yeah, like as I was saying, like I think that oh hang on, let my cat's come in. Hang on, let me put her out because she'll meow.
Oh
She's deaf.
no, it's okay. My cat, she's laying
Man,
right by her
see?
food right now. Oh my God,
She's beautiful,
stop.
isn't she? Hang on, let me let you out. Yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
she's so cute.
She's gorgeous, isn't she? I just have to let her out because she's deaf and she can't hear me when I tell her shush. So she'll be like really loud. But anyway, yeah, what were we saying? So, yeah, so
Lesbians.
the acceptance into the other group, opposite genders or whatever's group in society in Iran, I don't think would be so successful for the female to male transitioners as what it would be for male to female transitioners because um, women are like already like a class, like a lower class in society.
Yeah.
Like they're down the totem pole or whatever, like the expression is. So you can't really move up and be accepted in the same way that a male could move down and be accepted. Just like in the West, to be honest. Like I mean, like well, this is what we were saying before about how like women are not campaigning, well, female to male trans men are not campaigning to be in men's sports, or like the push is not the same.
mean, yeah, like that has to be the most, the sports thing is so glaringly obvious. I wish it was more that people cared about women in prison. You know,
Yeah.
I wish that that is what piqued people, but Leah Thomas, you got to hand it to Leah Thomas for peaking the world, because
Yeah.
seeing a
Wow.
6'3" to whatever man on live television, just I
It's
can't.
just crazy. Like, yeah, that's.
One of
I'm
the,
sorry. I laugh, but it's not because it's fun. Like, I laugh at this stuff. It's not because
it's
it's funny.
absurd. It's Orwellian. It's the most, I
Right?
never thought. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like
You just
now
look
people
at
are like,
everything.
really, like they want to try to debate you. Like, we don't know the difference
Yeah.
between a man and a woman. Like, come on.
Like, honestly, it's your that
I
what you
have
just said.
eyes.
Right? They want to try and debate you about this. Like, so you got like
Can
a
you really
picture of him,
define what
like.
a woman is? Like, there's like, please.
It's just horrific. Like, you just think you've gone mad sometimes. Like, having to explain, oh God, having to like
I
try and
know you're
debate people
hungry.
about
Yeah, I'm
male
gonna
male
do. We're gonna
people
both
can't
have
have
cat times.
periods.
I gotta go feed her because she won't stop yelling at me.
Okay. Cat life.
No, it's cats. I know you're hungry. Oh, there you go. I do love that TERFs are all cat ladies.
Yeah, we are. I've made loads of Twitter friends, but I was talking to a
Twitter,
Brazilian gay man.
TERF Twitter is my sanity.
Yeah.
It's like literally like I don't have. It's like I don't have any IRL friends that are like gender critical or like at least openly. Like you've got private conversations, they agree, but like no one's like me.
Yeah.
And like then I found my TERF Twitter, and I'm like, oh my god. And we do have 10 minutes left again, and I can't believe that you gave me another 40 minutes.
How have we spoken again for 10 minutes?
I know, you're amazing. So I want to get back to Iran and ask you what is something you want, you know, the Western world or America or other people that don't know to know about Iran right now.
Okay, so so first thing is that this is not a new thing. Like the women's rights, fight for women's rights and feminism in Iran has been around since like the revolution in 1979 happened. So this is not a new thing. The only thing that's different is that now the population, millennials and younger, who are leading these protests, the population of them is double what the whole of the Iranian population was in 1979. So you think about how many people that is. So we're probably going to have another revolution, I would say, in the other direction soon. So look out, basically, and it's not going anywhere. And just to say, keep like the names of the dead alive. Like if you want to help, some people ask me on Twitter a lot, like what can I do from the US and stuff like that. Keep retweeting every news story you see when like especially when someone's been killed by police and stuff. Retweet their name, their story, keep like their names and stuff alive. That's really important. And also I wanted to say that like don't feel like if you are a Westerner, if you're from not Iran or whatever, that you're will be perceived or like you are racist if you criticize the Iranian government, because you're not. And everyone has a right to criticize things when it's so affecting such a huge amount of women, especially, but men as well. In these protests, a lot of young men under the age of 18 have been killed, lots and lots, shot in the head, things like this. So keep everyone's name alive. Yeah, and it's actually beautiful to see like men standing up and fighting alongside the women. The women are leading it, but the men are not far behind. So that's all I wanted to say, really. I'll say something in Farsi. Iran. I mean, it's like Viva la women of Iran or whatever.
Oh, I love that. You've been amazing. You're gonna be a regular. Thank you so much. This has been such a privilege. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Wonderful day at work. Wonderful night. I'm gonna also go to work soon. And
oh my God, you've got such good stamina. I'm like tired.
Oh, it's because I slept very late to do this. That's all good.
Crazy, honestly. Like, good for you though. I'm like tired all the time. But yeah, thank you so much.
You don't seem tired. You have very energetic, and I've really enjoyed this. So thank you so much.
Passionate. Yeah. That's why I'm enthusiastic.
I love passion. Passion is everything.